Hello and welcome back to World War I Great War fighting knives. In this video we will be looking at the French 1916 Avenger, which is this beauty here. Now, the French army were very limited with their stocking, with their soldiers with standard issued knives for some reason. They just had their lapel bayonets and they were quite happy that they had those. The powers to be were, the soldiers weren't, obviously. In the first parts of World War One, the French soldiers would cut down their bayonets or make the very crude nail knife, or the nail clou fran, if you like. This was a very basic bow combat knife that the soldiers would manufacture from steel rod. It was clever, but unfortunately very impractical. There's very few original versions out there. There's a lot of copies, but you can always look those up. Again, it's called the nail knife if you'd like to look those up. So when trench warfare started, the French army realised that they needed a close hand-to-hand combat knife. Hence the standard issue knife needed for the troops. But this was done not until 1916 when the Avenger came out. This particular knife is the second variant of the Couteau Puna Emily 1916. This was the French Army's final official issue trench knife. It was produced by a number of different manufacturers. However, the original version was made by Lyon, who also manufactured the US 1918 knuckle knife to American troops who were fighting overseas. They had the monopoly basically to manufacture the knives for the American troops. I've done a previous video on that one if you'd like to check it out. It's called the World War I US Trench Fighting Knives of 1917 and 1918. If you want to have a look at that particular knife, and that is the original Lyon version I've got in that video. Now, the inscription of this knife, the Avenger 1870, the French come up with that because it refers to the desire of the French to avenge their defeat by Prussia in the war of 1870 to 1871. The blade itself is stamped with manufacturer's markings. I'm going to try and get this up nice and close for you. Hopefully you can see that there. So you got on there Couteau and Fiers Besset 31. Now Couteau is French for cutlery, and Fiers is the town in France. In fact, Fiers is the cutlery capital of France, a medieval hilltop town in the I believe it's in the Puy-de-Dôme department of Auvergne, mainly known for its knife manufacturing. The craftsmen and women actually they use the power of the Douro River to drive their grinding stones, and they have done for something like 700-800 years. They've been using grinding stones there and utilising the river to manufacture knives. Which is remarkable, really. The craftsmen themselves were originally known as the Yellow Bellies because they were used to sharpen their blades, sharpen all the blades they were manufacturing, believe it or not, whilst laying on their bellies. And the dust from the grinding would coat their clothing in yellow fine dust, obviously, so hence why they were called the Yellow Bellies. There's quite a few good books, and you can probably find it online. It's quite remarkable how they used to sharpen the blades whilst laying on their bellies. I believe it's something in the region of 2,000 of the estimated population. I think it's like 11 to 12,000 of this town that are still actually actively involved in the cutlery industry today. So it's good that they've kept up the traditions for all these years. Now, these knives were not only used in World War I, they also saw action in World War II. but also on both sides, believe it or not. In 1940, the Germans managed to capture thousands of unissued Avenger knives and issued them to their own troops because they were a very good knife. The knife itself is very well designed and manufactured. It does fit lovely into the hand. It really does. It's a nice knife. Now, all the grips were made of hardwood. Usually, 99% of the time, it'll be walnut, measuring 102 millimeters in length. I always try and give you all the dimensions of the knives and what they should have been manufactured to, because it's always good if you're going to go out and purchase a knife. You should know all the dimensions of that knife to make sure that you're not buying a copy. Now there's loads of different ways to find out and check if your knife you're buying is original, but it's always good to know the dimensions of the standard makings of these. So you know, if you go to buy a knife, you can do the measurements yourself and check whether it is an official knife, original knife. The guard, which you can see there, I'll show you both sides. The guard, now look, the guard gives reasonable protection. It's quite nicely made. It's thick enough. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever when you're stabbing front motion. Now my problem is when you've got the blade upside down and you're stabbing that way, it doesn't fit nicely into the hand. Whatever you stabbed, you're liable to proper hurt your hand when you've done that. So that's the only thing I don't actually like about this knife is the guard. The rest of the knife, I think it's a very well manufactured knife. Just the guard itself, a little design fault, I would personally say. Others might disagree. Now the blade is double-edged diamond shaped. From heavy-duty so-called sabre steel ends with a threaded shank. Now the blade should measure 170 millimeters long and 25 mil wide. It has a rebated ricasso, as you can see. Now the ricasso, just in case you don't know, is this part here. This is the unsharpened part of the blade, if you like, which has the stampings on it, etc. That is what is called the ricasso. Now the scabbard itself is manufactured from steel. These came as standard with an integrated belt loop, which you can see here. Just a standard steel scabbard, nothing fancy, but a good scabbard. Now these scabbards were manufactured as standard 188 millimeters long and 30 millimeters wide. Now inside there is a retainer spring, which does tend to cause scrapes on the blades, but that's how it's held together. I don't know if you can see, got two proper big scrapes on the blade there. But don't get me wrong, it holds the blade well. It's a quick draw, nothing wrong whatsoever. A well-designed scabbard. Overall, a very, very nice knife that could be used for both stabbing and slashing. It's almost like commando-esque knife, if you will. That would have been really reasonably well in the combat of trench warfare. I've chucked a couple of casks in the background there. Just move that knife out of the way so you can see. Just so you can look at those at the same time, which I try to do in my videos. From left to right there, you can see we have the Marines, and you've got the artillery, engineers, and the Air Force. So that was the Avenger knife. I would like to say a big thank you, and please like and subscribe if you like my videos, and continue watching. I try to post one every 2 to 3 weeks, and I'll be posting another one shortly. Thanks for watching and take care. Bye.